Hello, my class, and welcome to your next science lesson. So let me share this with you. Right. In this lesson, we are going to be we're going to be doing the following. We're going to look at whether we can recognize that changes to an environment can be, sorry, my screen's just, sorry, my screen froze. It says, can I recognize that changes to an environment can be dangerous to living things? And can I begin to understand what can be done to reverse some of these changes? Right, by the end of this lesson, you will be able to do the following. You're going to be able to explore what the impact of some environmental changes are, both positive and negative. You will look at the potential impact of deforestation, and we will learn more about what deforestation is. We have discussed it briefly. You will understand what we can do to help minimize the impact of climate change. You will understand some of the changes that caused the number of some living things to decline, so to reduce. Right, today we're going to discuss 5 different changes to our environment. We're going to look at deforestation, urbanization, global warming or climate change, intensive farming, and nature reserves. And I want you to pause and think about those words and if you've heard them before and what they could mean. We're also going to be looking at the impact of these changes. So let's start with deforestation. Forests are amazing and they support us. And they support so many different living things. Right. So what does this mean? Deforestation contributed to India's deadly mudslide. Experts say that deforestation, the cutting down of trees, leads to land erosion, which leads to landslides. Medek Patkar, who is an environmental activist, that is what he has said. So we're going to click on the link that is in the description below, and I want you to see why the orangutan is in danger. So palm oil plantation, this is an example of a palm oil plantation in an area that was once a forest. And I want you to think, why do you think it's dangerous when we have things that are being built up in areas that used to be forests, and the forests have obviously all disappeared? So pause the video now and watch that link. Right, so what can we do? What can we do to help with deforestation? Look at using recycled paperboard and recycled paper. The more recycled paper we use, the less trees that need to be cut down to create paper and other resources that we use. Choose recycled or certified sustainable wood products and look for products that no longer use palm oil. Urbanization. Urbanization means that there are more and more people living in built-up urban areas rather than in rural areas. This means that more and more houses and roads are being built on land that was once untouched and once was possibly open fields or forests or green areas that things lived and grew. And the more we get urbanized, which means they're built up as an urban area, much like the area of Slough is an urban area and not a rural area. They are obviously then building more houses. They need more space to do that. Shopping centers, parking lots, hospitals, which obviously we need, but that means that more houses and roads are being built on land that once didn't have any of that on there. Right, so urbanization also means that when we build another road or a housing estate, or we pave our back gardens or make a driveway, we are taking away all the grass and the food sources that animals like hedgehogs survive on. So we're taking away from a hedgehog's environment because worms and slugs and snails can't live on concrete. They can't live on the roads. You know, from when it gets wet at school and there's the worms and things, you know that they need the grass and the soil to live in. It is thought that for hedgehogs, their numbers have declined from about 30 million in the 1950s to about 1.5 million hedgehogs today. And that is a huge, huge amount that have gone down and declined. Hedgehogs are nocturnal, which means they come out at night, and they can travel between 1 to 2 miles at night foraging, so looking for food. When we put fences up between each garden, we cut off their chances to move around and look for food or find a mate. So what can we do? We could put out some food for them, leave an area in our garden for them to forage in. We could talk to our neighbors about making a hedgehog highway between all of our gardens. And there's another clip down below in the description that will show you a way that we could help our hedgehogs. So pause the video now and have a look at that clip. Global warming. So we have discussed global warming already in the previous lesson, and we did discuss it in our live lesson. But we talked about the fact that the world is getting warmer because we are burning more fossil fuels, and that the carbon dioxide that this produces is a greenhouse gas. This means that when it is in our atmosphere, it acts like a greenhouse and the world starts getting warmed up. The impact of this, we've also briefly discussed this, was that glaciers and sea ice are shrinking, which is causing our sea levels to then rise. And if this continues, there could be flooding in areas near the coast. Also, for animals like polar bears hunt from the sea ice. And if there is less sea ice, this will mean that there is a smaller area for polar bears to hunt in and survive in. Some scientists think that global warming will also cause more extreme weather, such as hurricanes, droughts, flooding in various different areas. So what can we do to help with global warming? We can make some small changes. For example, we can keep an eye on our food miles. The transportation of food burns a lot of fossil fuels. If possible, we can buy local products that are produced in the area, seasonal produce, which unfortunately this picture here shows you strawberries don't naturally grow in December or January, but we could buy, there's specific fruits and veg that will grow in different seasons, and we can buy those ones during those seasons. We could also make fewer car journeys and walk if you can, or use public transport. This is obviously a bit different during this time when we're at home and we're not really traveling a huge amount or going on public transport. We are going for walks though, which is good. So already I think you will see that there've been some examples of how things have been getting better because people aren't traveling as much as they usually do. Intensive farming. Farming is getting more and more intense as the demand for food by a growing population increases. So the more people there are, the bigger the demand for food is, and the more that farmers have to produce. So it gets more and more intense. This obviously has an impact in that something like hedges are being removed so that fields are made larger, wildflowers are not as abundant, so there's not as many wildflowers. So just as similar to, if you think, the deforestation, the farming means that they are making fields larger and cutting down things that usually grow in those fields. So what can we do to help? We could plant more wildflowers anywhere we can, and we could encourage others to do the same. So where the plants are being removed, the wildflowers are being removed by the farmers, we could then plant some more of them. nature reserves. Do you think humans are making positive changes to the environment? And the answer is yes, right? We have nature reserves all around that are a way of protecting the areas that they are in. So these areas are being allowed to flourish once again. So they're often cordoned off so that people can't build there. They're specifically protected areas. And when we manage an area, but by protecting the species of plants that grow there, we encourage growth. So there's more things growing. We stop the pollution because obviously there's less chance of being things being polluted in the area. And the invasive species, we stop pollution and invasive species, then the living things in that area can thrive. So if we're looking after that area and making sure that things are growing and there's not that much pollution and invasive species, so species that aren't meant to be there, that are usually brought by humans or other things to that area, when we stop that and we have a protected area, then the living things within that area are able to thrive. They're able to do better. They're able to grow bigger. So what we can do, we can help nature reserves when we're walking around by volunteering at them or picking up litter, making sure that all our litter goes into the rubbish bins. We could also learn about what they are doing and tell others, or we could be respectful towards that area and the signs. So if you see somewhere that says, please keep out, that means don't go there, don't walk on it. If it says, please don't walk on the grass, there's a reason for that. If it says, please do not litter, there's a reason we don't want plastic and other bits of rubbish lying around in our nature reserves and in our protected areas. You could get a bit muddy. You could encourage others to work with you to protect your own little space. Maybe you have a little space in the garden that you would like to plant some wildflowers or create a little area for some hedgehogs, right? I want you to think about what's happening in your garden or in your park or your local allotments. Is there anything that you can do to help the environment and to help the nature that's within that environment, the plants, the little animals? Is there something that you can do to help? Your 3 challenges are as follows. I want you to design an information poster about one change that is happening. Remember, we've gone through, I think, about 5 of them. Tell people about the change and what they can do to help. Explain your poster either in a video or in a small paragraph. It says to your peers in your classroom, but if you're able to write a small paragraph explaining your poster, that would be great. And then think about what you could do in your local area to help your environment if any change was to happen. How could you help? Don't forget to share with us on Tapestry. I'd really love to see some of your ideas and your posters about the changes that have been happening in our environment.